They say time heals everything. That is not true. What truly heals is the right absence, held the right way, and for the right reason. Not every void is the same. Some absences are merely pauses after an argument, and soon everything returns to normal. But some carry a clear message without a single word. The game is over. And the most brutal part is that you do not need to say goodbye, defend yourself, or write a long explanation. You simply withdraw with calmness and let silence do the rest. Most people are not afraid of loud endings. A door that slams still gives them something to hold on to. What terrifies them is disappearance without warning, silence without annotation. When the noise fades, what remains is the echo. And in that echo, the ego begins to crack piece by piece, because there is no one left to blame but themselves. If you have ever been underestimated or ignored as if your presence or absence made no difference, this video is for you. Not for revenge, but to help you reclaim control by making others feel the full weight of your absence, in silence. You will understand why the Stoic withdrawal strategy is stronger than any confrontation. You will see how every step of not returning slowly eats away at the other person's ego from within. You will realize that conscious indifference is not cruelty, but a shield that keeps you from repeating the cycle of pain. It is not silence out of weakness, but silence out of self-respect. And once you stop explaining, stop begging, stop trying to prove your worth, what remains in their mind is a question with no answer. That question grows over time while you move forward, light yet unwavering. Today, you will learn how to turn absence into your strongest presence. Not through anger, but through cold clarity. Not to hurt, but to stop allowing others to hurt you. And the most beautiful part is that this entire process can happen without a single word from you. All it takes is silence held by a straight spine, peaceful eyes, and the decision not to return. People are not afraid of endings. What they fear most is the emptiness that comes without explanation. When a relationship ends in shouting or accusations, at least there is something solid to lean on. We know why it ended. But when someone disappears in silence without a trace or reason, the mind falls into chaos. It begins to ask hundreds of questions. What are they thinking? What did I do wrong? Are they just testing me? And in the very act of trying to find those answers, they begin to torture themselves, creating stories that haunt them long after you are gone. That is why your absence is more powerful than any words. When you stay silent, you take back control of the narrative. They can no longer play the victim, shift the blame, or use words to twist the situation. You step out of the game and they lose their stage. Their mind, once accustomed to manipulating your emotions, suddenly falls into emptiness. That emptiness becomes a mental punishment because the human brain hates uncertainty. When there is no answer left, they are forced to face the only thing that remains, themselves. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not the things themselves that trouble us, but our judgment about them." When you remain silent, you force them to face reality without escape. There is no noise of argument for them to hide behind, no role left to play. There is only your stillness, and in that stillness, they begin to hear the echo of their own actions. The right absence is not punishment, it is truth revealed. Because when you walk away without a word, you give them the most ruthless gift, space. In that space, every pretense, every excuse, every illusion begins to dissolve. And only then do they realize that losing you is not just losing a person, but losing the sense of safety your presence once gave them, without them even knowing why. Not all silences are the same. Some people stay silent out of fear, not knowing what to say, hoping that silence will make others realize their mistake. But others choose silence because they have understood that no words can change someone who refuses to listen. One is weak silence, the other is stoic silence. Silence with reason, with purpose, and with dignity. Weak silence is when you are still waiting inside. You say nothing, but your mind is in turmoil. You are silent on the outside, yet within, there is an endless dialogue. You look at your phone, hoping for a message, wondering if they still think about you. You believe you are in control, but in truth, you are still being controlled by emotion. This kind of silence does not heal. It only prolongs the pain. Because you have not truly withdrawn, you are merely pausing, hoping that they will change. In contrast, Stoic silence does not come from fear, but from clarity. You remain silent not to gain attention, but to protect your peace. You do not react, not because you have become numb, but because you have learned that every reaction is a moment you allow others to touch your emotions. This silence is not avoidance, it is selection. You choose to save your energy for what truly matters instead of wasting it on meaningless arguments. The Stoic does not use silence for revenge, but to restore boundaries. They understand that words can be twisted, but silence cannot. Their silence is not emptiness. It is a declaration. I do not need to speak for you to understand. If you cannot understand my absence, you will never understand my words. When you reach that level, your silence is no longer a sign of pain, but proof of growth. Because sometimes the wisest thing is not to react loudly, but to remain still enough for others to hear the noise within themselves. When you withdraw in silence, at first they may feel relieved. They will think you are just angry, that you will return as before. They remain confident, carrying on with life as if nothing has changed. But as days pass, when no reaction comes, when your silence lasts longer than they expected, a strange feeling begins to emerge. It starts with confusion, turns into unease, and eventually becomes fear. Because they realize your silence is no longer a reaction, it is a decision. Your absence now begins to act like a mirror. In that mirror, they no longer see you. They see themselves. They see their indifference, their cold words, the way they once hurt you without a second thought. When you were still there, they never had to face that, because every time they were wrong, you reacted, you tried, you saved what was breaking. But when you fall silent, they lose that shield. They are forced to confront the consequences of their own actions. And that is the heaviest punishment, one no one can save them from but themselves. The Stoics understand that there is no need for revenge because time and silence will take care of it. When they no longer have your reactions or your attention, they begin to hear the echoes of the past. Every careless action, every moment of neglect, every empty promise now returns, colliding against the wall of silence you have built. It is not loud or dramatic, but it is painful and enduring. You do not need to say, I am tired. You only need to stop speaking, because when your absence is deep enough, it becomes the most powerful message, one that cannot be interrupted, distorted, or forgotten. In that mirror, they will clearly see the one thing they once took for granted. You were the best part of what they had, and now that part is gone. Time is a fair judge, and it always sides with those who stay consistent. On the first day of your silence, they may feel comfortable, even victorious. They think you are just upset, that in a few days you will soften and return. But time does not stop after a few days. As your silence stretches on, as their messages go unanswered, as they realize that you truly can live without them, fear begins to creep in. Not the fear of losing you, but the fear of losing the control that once made them feel powerful. Time does not make you forget, but it changes you. Each day spent in stillness is a day you learn to live with more peace, while they slowly lose balance. Time turns your silence from a temporary act into a permanent state. Once silence becomes a habit, it is no longer a tactic, it is a way of living. And that is when they realize you are no longer angry, you have let go. The psychology of absence works in a simple way. People only begin to value something when what was familiar disappears. When they no longer hear your voice, no longer see your messages, no longer feel the care that once felt guaranteed, that emptiness begins to grow heavier. Each day a little regret slips in, a little doubt grows stronger. Every passing moment is no longer your silence, but their punishment. The Stoics always said, nothing hurts more than losing what you once thought was certain. And it is your consistency, the way you maintain your absence without wavering, that breaks them down. Not because you seek revenge, but because they are forced to face the consequences of their own indifference. You do not need to make them understand. Time will speak for you. Each day that passes while you remain calm is a silent declaration that you have entered a different stage, one they can no longer reach. It is not just distance, it is the difference between someone who has not yet matured and someone who has learned the meaning of peace. True silence is not just about stopping words, messages, or appearances. That is only the surface. The Stoics understood that for absence to have power, you must cut two kinds of ties, external and internal. Only when both are released can you truly be free. Cutting external ties is the first step. Stop following them. Stop checking what they are doing. Stop searching for traces on social media. Stop asking friends how they are. Every time you do, you unknowingly keep the thread between you alive, even if only through a single thought. Let go completely. Delete what reminds you. Stop listening to songs that bring back memories and put away the objects tied to them. Not out of hatred, but to create space for new peace to enter. When you stop searching for them, you begin to find yourself. But what matters even more is cutting internal ties. Because sometimes people leave but remain alive in your mind. You may not speak to them, but you replay old conversations in your head, asking yourself, what if I had done things differently? It is those repeated memories that keep you trapped. To be free, you must learn to observe emotions without attachment. When a memory resurfaces, do not resist it and do not sink into it. Simply notice it and let it pass. Each time you do, one more invisible knot within your mind loosens. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If something is beyond your control, let it stay beyond your mind." Cutting internal ties is the practice of that teaching. You do not need to force yourself to forget. You only need to stop giving those memories the power to rule your emotions. When you reach that point, your silence is no longer reaction. It becomes proof of inner freedom. Keeping silent for a day is easy, but maintaining it throughout the entire process is the real challenge. There will be moments when emotions rise, when you want to explain yourself, to be understood, or to speak just to prove that you still exist. But the Stoic knows that every time you react, you hand your power back to others. To preserve calmness, you must train, not through theory, but through practice. And that is why the tools of Stoic philosophy exist. The first tool is the dichotomy of control, clearly distinguishing between what you can control and what you cannot. You cannot control the thoughts of others, but you can control how you respond. When you feel the urge to text, to speak, to reach out, pause and ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is no, let it go. The Stoic does not try to change the world. They focus on changing themselves. The second tool is premeditatio malorum, imagining in advance the difficulties that might come. Every morning, prepare your mind for the possibility that you may be misunderstood, ignored, or provoked. When you expect these things, you will not react impulsively. You remain calm, not because you are cold, but because you are prepared. The third tool is the rule of 24 hours, the discipline of waiting one full day before reacting. When you feel the urge to speak in the heat of emotion, wait. After 24 hours, your feelings will have shifted, and most of the time, you will see that silence is still the right choice. Finally, there is evening reflection, looking inward each night. Ask yourself, did I react too quickly today? Did I let emotions overpower reason? When you are honest with yourself, you begin to feel lighter, steadier, and less easily disturbed. The Stoic does not seek to become cold. They choose silence because they understand that peace does not come from speaking, but from the ability to remain still in the face of what cannot be controlled. And once you master that, your silence becomes power, calm, steady, and unshakable. As your silence continues, they begin to lose their composure. Those who were once used to controlling your emotions cannot stand the feeling of losing their grip. So they begin to test, not to reconcile, but to see if they still hold power over your mind. They want to know whether you are still predictable, whether a single small move from them can still make you waver like before. And it is at this moment that you must hold your silence the most. These tests are rarely direct. They will not apologize or admit their mistakes. Instead, they send vague signals, a short message saying, "How have you been?" A like on an old photo, a meaningless comment, or a sentence that brings up a shared memory. They do not truly care how you are doing. They only want to see if you will still react. If you respond, even with a single word, they will feel relief. I still have influence. But if you remain silent, they will feel empty. And that emptiness is what destroys them. The Stoic does not react to manipulation. They observe, they understand, and they do not participate. When you recognize that these are merely tests, you stop being affected. If you must respond, keep it short, polite, and firm. "I'm fine, thank you." Then stop. Do not open the door to another conversation, and do not prolong anything further. Every word you say is a signal, and those who understand psychology will know how to use it to pull you back into the same old cycle. Remember, silence is not coldness. It is protection. When you no longer react, they lose the ability to manipulate. When you no longer respond, they lose the stage to perform. And when they try everything yet meet only your steady calm, they are forced to face the most frightening truth of all. You are no longer there to be controlled. Eventually they will return, not because of any deep realization, but because your silence has become unbearable to them. When they no longer hear your voice or feel your presence, they begin to realize that what they once took for granted was the very thing that made them feel secure. But when they do return, the Stoic knows one thing well: not everyone who comes back is sincere. Some return out of regret, but others return only to check whether they still hold power over you. And if you are not mindful, you will fall into the same trap, the cycle of giving, enduring, and once again suffering in silence. When they come back, observe instead of trusting immediately. Watch their actions, not their words. The genuine ones will not try to shake your emotions. They will focus on correcting what they once did wrong. They will be consistent, patient, and respectful of your space. On the other hand, those who return only to test you will rush, grow irritated when you do not respond, and constantly try to reignite old emotions. That is the sign that they have not changed. They only want to reclaim the control they once had. Forgiveness and returning are two different things. Forgiveness is the act of a mature person, freeing yourself from resentment, but returning is a decision that affects your peace. If their return brings you anxiety instead of comfort, remember, you do not owe them a second chance. Your silence has already taught them a lesson. Not every door stays open forever. The Stoic does not seek revenge. They seek balance. When they come back, you do not need to act cold, nor do you need to appear forgiving. You only need to be clear. If they have truly changed, you will see it over time. But if they return only out of fear of losing control, there is only one thing you must do: continue your silence. Because at this point, silence is no longer a defense, it is self-respect. After remaining silent long enough, when the waves of emotion finally settle, you will realize that what remains is not emptiness, but space, a new space to begin again. The Stoic sees absence as a process of purification, removing what is unnecessary so that the mind can return to balance. You do not need to forget the past. You only need to stop giving it power over your present, and that is the beginning of rebuilding. Start with your body. When the soul is tired, the body carries all the tension. So give it rest, give it care. Eat healthy meals, take morning walks, sleep early, breathe deeply. These small acts not only make you stronger, but they remind you that you are once again in charge of your life. Because mental strength always begins with physical discipline. Next, turn to your mind. Write down your thoughts every day, not to complain, but to observe. Writing helps you see how much you have changed, helping you recognize the things that once made you weak. Read, listen to uplifting words, or simply sit quietly for a few minutes each day. That silence is no longer something to fear. It becomes the place where you begin to hear your true voice again, the one you lost when you were trapped in that old relationship. And finally, choose what truly deserves to remain in your life: your friends, your habits, your goals. Do not return, even in thought, to the places that once stole your peace. Let your new life be rebuilt on the foundation of stillness, not reaction. When you rebuild from within, your silence is no longer a wall of defense. It becomes a symbol of freedom. You no longer need anyone to listen to you, because now you have learned how to listen to yourself. When your journey of silence comes to an end, you will realize one thing. What you have gained is not revenge, but self-mastery. You no longer need others to understand or to feel remorse. You only need to know that you were strong enough to stop and mature enough to no longer react by instinct. The Stoic does not seek victory by making others suffer, but by mastering themselves. And when you reach that point, your peace no longer depends on anyone else. True strength does not come from speaking often, but from the ability to stay silent when everything inside you wants to explode. Not everyone can do that because it requires discipline, awareness, and self-respect. Every time you choose silence over argument, you are training your mind with a new muscle, the muscle of composure. Every time you choose not to react, you are learning to protect your energy from what does not deserve it. The Stoics teach that life is not defined by what happens to you, but by how you respond to it. And deliberate silence is the highest form of response. When you remain silent, you are not losing. You are simply choosing not to play. You step outside the chaos, not out of arrogance, but because you understand that peace is worth more than any explanation. If this video resonates with you, leave one word in the comments, untouchable, which means unshaken. Because when you learn how to stay silent at the right moment, you are no longer easily controlled by emotions, the past, or anyone else. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every video here is a lesson that helps you become stronger, freer, and more at peace. Live like a Stoic, steady amid the storm, calm within the silence, and able to walk away with the serenity of someone who knows their true worth.